We are currently recording. Sweet. So thank you, Benjamin. All right. So let's get started. So Benjamin, if you could go to the View tab for me. So Benjamin already has his ruler, but I did want to show you all that in the show group there, you have the option to have your ruler on or off. I always suggest having it on, especially for what we're about to do. Notice you have a vertical ruler on the left, and then at the top you have your horizontal ruler. Um, so let's look at a couple of things that are on this ruler. What most of what we'll be looking at today will have to do with this ruler. We saw last week that on the ruler, whenever we inserted columns, you could see where those columns started and ended, and you could also adjust their widths and heights from there. So from what we have here, Benjamin, if you go to the edge of the top ruler, yes, so you'll notice that it goes from technically a -1 to a little past 7, about halfway past 7. So if you really took that whole length, so 7 minus -1 will give you 8 plus a little half over, it'd be 8.5. And if you look at the other side, look at the vertical ruler as you scroll down. If you could scroll down, Benjamin, you'll notice that we're going past 8 to 9 and 10 area. And so that's because it's an 8.5 by 11 paper. Okay, so that's what that ruler is. But that whole idea of it being, when I mentioned like, oh, it's more like a -1, that's because you aren't allowed to begin typing directly on that edge. That's because of how your margins are set up. So that negative space or the black space on his ruler is the margins. So it's where you're not allowed to type. Now you can modify that. Benjamin, if you would go up to the top, you'll notice that, yes, there's a, yeah. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, so he's playing around with our little indentions, and those allow us to go a little further back. And then if we change them, so if we were to print right now, a lot of that would actually be out of place. And the reason is because they're not a part of, you're saying that, hey, I can type in the margins, but you haven't changed what the margins are actually. And so now notice as he actually moves it around, you may be able to see it changed from the number 7 to 8 at one point because he's giving himself more room. Um, so yeah, so you can make modifications there. You tend to not want to do this unless you are comfortable doing so. So if you know, like for instance, you need 1/2 inch margins, you can do it like Benjamin just did. Now it's only going about half, actually maybe even a little less. Looks like almost like a quarter, but you could do that and then begin typing and modifying as you needed to. Now, Benjamin, if you could undo that back to its original form, you can use Control Z or Command Z because I think you're on an Apple computer. No, you're not. You're on a regular one. You just have black and white. It's cool. All right, yeah. So yeah, you can Control Z that. Okay, cool. He's back to normal. All right. So that's some things that you can do on the ruler. Now let's look at the little indentions that he was messing around with. So if you could type something, whatever you want, Benjamin, appropriate, of course. But yeah. D, great. And maybe if you press enter and then type something else. Okay, finite. And if you could hold, oh, sorry, backspace real quick for me. Press shift and then press enter. All right, now type for me. Okay, cool. So let's make some changes here. So on the ruler, if you would click on the pentagon that is facing downward, pointing downward. It's the top one on the ruler. On the left side, the things that you were sliding earlier, the indents. Yeah, it's the top one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So So that is known as our first line indentation. So as you can see, he can maneuver that around. And if you were to look at the one underneath that, so the other one, yeah. So let's do that guy right there. That's our hanging line indentation. And so yeah, you can move it back to normal now. So what's the difference between those two? The top one is known as the first line, meaning that the first line within a paragraph, it will move where it is. So a lot of times people will use this for whenever you're writing a paper, you have multiple paragraphs. You know the beginning of your paragraph is indented, right? Well, this is how you could have that indentation. A lot of people will just press tab and call it done. That's not really what should be happening. Honestly, what you should be doing is Benjamin, if you go to the first line indent and then maybe slide it to the right, this is how you should be doing that. So that way you could go to like half inch or a quarter of an inch or whatever you would like to. Um, but that's what you should be doing whenever you're beginning it, because that will work for all first lines. So you can select all of your paragraphs and then line them up the same. And that way you don't have to have this, because tabs are set up differently. Um, Actually, I have well, I can't do a poll, but I have what's called a poll. So in the chat, maybe you all can tell me, when you press tab, how many spaces is that equivalent to? How many spaces is a tab equivalent to? I want to see what people say. How many spaces is a tab equivalent to? Okay. We got a couple answers. We got 7, we got 10, we got 7 and 8, 7 or 8, 6 or 7. We have a 4. We have a not set amount. So 2 answers on here are correct. Uh, and I'll tell you why. By default, generally speaking, in Microsoft Word, by default, a tab is approximately 4 spaces because they initiate a tab to be a half of an inch. Now, that also depends on the text that's been typed um, because it has to be monospace. So, mono meaning one, so one space between. However, some letters give different shape and form, and so they take up more spacing. Uh-oh, looks like we lost Benjamin. Okay, cool. So they may take up more spacing. So that 4 spaces, I think Michaela was one. So that is the default, so to speak. A lot of times people will tell students that, oh, just press 5 spaces, the same as tab. So let's test that experiment real quick, and then I'll tell you what the other transfer is. So if you could go to where you have the word D and press tab. So we have D, press tab in front of it. Yeah. Okay. Now, so notice it went to a half an inch. We can see that on the ruler. Now I want you to press space bar now on the finite, and let's do it 4 times. Okay. All right. So that didn't quite go all the way over, right? That's because his default for tab may be set up differently. Or not that default for tab, but his default for yeah, actually for his default for tab may be set up differently. But also notice that that hasn't even gone over a half an inch. And some of you may see this and like, oh, that actually looks more like how I would indent a paragraph. That looks like it's a good amount of space. And he's gone approximately a 16th of an inch across. So, which again, you can totally tell that's the beginning of the paragraph, right? The tab is more defined because it went to a half an inch across. Um, but so I said there were 2 answers that were correct. The other answer that was correct was actually there is no set amount, because there isn't. A tab is a tab and not a space. It is not a collection of spaces. It is a tab. Um, so if you go back to where you have B, you put your insertion point right in front of it. I want you all to look up at the top on the ruler. Look where the first line indent moved to. It moved to half an inch. Okay, so when you press tab, it automatically moved over there. That's because it understands that you are doing the first line indentation. That's why you're using tab. It doesn't recognize that with the spaces. Okay. Also, I want you to go back to the home tab for us. And if you could, in the paragraph root, yes, click show hide. Click on the show hide. All right. I want you all to notice that with this, look at the beginning of finite. Remember, show hide will show us all those hidden characters. So it shows us those space bars. Notice that there's nothing there in front of the in front of the D, even though we didn't press tab. And we will see later that when you press tab, you do get a hidden character. That's because it recognizes it again as a first line indentation. There's no need to do that. So yes. All right. Actually, yeah, you can click on that little lightning bolt thing so you can see what the auto format is trying to tell you, or the auto option, I guess I should actually say. So go and click on it. There's you changed it already. Never mind. Yeah. So there was an option for him to change it to an actual tab. So he clicked on that. Now you see that arrow there. That arrow is telling you that, hey, I have tabbed. So that's what that stands for. But yes, it recognizes that a tab in the beginning of a paragraph is really a first line. And so that's why that option is there, to change between that auto option of having it change to a first indent or a change to a tab. So yeah, so spaces are not tabs. Tabs are not spaces. There is a default set amount. As you all can see right now, when you do tab on the first line, it automatically assumes it is a first line indentation. So it moves it to, in this case, a 1/2 inch. You could maneuver that first indent by sliding that first indent, as Benjamin demonstrated earlier. So, all right, cool. Well, let's have some more fun here with this now. So, Benjamin, after the word D, maybe type in another word. Okay, and let's give maybe like 2 more words after that too. Okay, the day out. All right, the day October 19th after the incident was not finite Azerbaijan. Sounds like a great story is actually getting started here, Benjamin. All right, well, so notice in between each of those words, we have our space bar visually seen. Now there's a couple of other things that we could possibly modify. Let's go to the ending indent, so the right indent on the ruler at the top. Yeah, keep on sliding over there. Okay, cool. Notice that we see. Oops, you accidentally dragged it off. Click on that little L thing that's there and just drag it off. Drag it off. Like literally down. Okay, you get all right, cool. So notice that nothing changed there. That's because there's nothing on. There it is. There was nothing selected to be done with the ending indent. So at that point in time, it was going wherever the insertion point was. When he selected the first paragraph, now he's able to say, hey, this is how far over you can go. But go to where you have finite and begin typing. Keep going. Finite amount of. Notice it goes past that mark. Look and see where its ending indent is. It's at 3.5, right? Okay. So you can adjust where the ending and the beginning of each of your lines are. So you can even adjust for the first line of a paragraph. You can adjust for the entire paragraph with the hanging indentation, as we showed, and then also with the ending indent or the right indent. So another thing to denote with the indentions is that the hanging indent, so what the bottom part of the left side that Benjamin was messing with earlier, the part that looks like a rectangle is actually not attached to the part that's on top of it. Those are two different indents. One's hanging and the other is the left indent. So, which makes sense, right? If you have a right indent, you should have a left indent. The other one's hanging. The hanging means everything that's underneath the first paragraph. Okay. So that rectangle is the hanging indent. And if you hover over them, they should actually give you screen tips to let you know that. I know a lot of times people tell me that they don't work too well. But hey, Benjamin, we'll select that first paragraph and then change its right indent back to 6.5. Sweet. Thank you. All right. So there are a couple of things that I do want to show you all with the tabs. And Benjamin actually accidentally entered entered one in on the ruler earlier. So if you could, between the words the and they, could you press tab for me? Okay. Now notice where it went, and let's do the same thing for between the words day and at. Okay. Cool. So notice it's going the same amount of space each time, and if you actually were to look at it, it's about half an inch each time. Um, the words are shorter, or the word at is shorter than the others, but it's somehow going at to a half-inch part each time. That's because it automatically by default says that tab is half an inch. Um, and so it moves the insertion point for the next word to begin at wherever the half-inch mark is. Um, so if the word was longer, it will look for the nearest next, like, so go to where you have October and the 19th and put a tab between those. Okay. See, still, even though October was longer, it still went to that nearest half part. So that 2.5, you notice how it's lined up with 2.5 there. And so every time you press tab, that's what it's going to do at this moment in time. It'll automatically move half an inch. Um, Now, if you would for us, go to your ruler and click on a number between 1 and 2. Actually, before you do that, sorry. Before you do that, let's get rid of these tabs. Sorry. Cool. And then, yeah. And now, how about we select the paragraph, that first paragraph? Okay, cool. Now click on a number between 1 and 2. Okay, cool. Notice that, oops, yeah, so notice that when he did so, no, that's fine. That's right. When he did that, when he clicked on somewhere between 1 and 2, you'll see a little L shape that's on there. That is known as a left tab stop. And so initially, when we inserted tab, it automatically went to a half location, right? Every time it went half an inch. When we have that tab stop, it recognizes that there's a tab stop there. So it says, oh, when this tab is pressed, you want me to go until we get to that stop. And that's exactly what it did there. Okay. So can you insert another one between 3 and 4? So just go to the ruler and click somewhere between 3 and 4. Okay, cool. Now go to the word day. Just click the insertion point in front of day. Okay. And I want you to just press tab. Notice it goes to where that second tab stop is. So why is this important? You can align exactly where you want things to go on your Word document using tabs. And this is known as a tab stop. Okay. Now there are different types of tab stops, and when it comes to building a resume, this is a very powerful tool. Um, or if you want to build some kind of makeshift table without actually inserting a table, this is a very powerful tool because you're able to tell it where things to go. You can say, when I press tab, you're going to go here. When I press it again, you're going to go here. Instead of pressing multiple tabs across the way, because that's what most people do. They will press multiple tabs, and then they see that they don't realize the tab is even going half an inch each time because it's defaulted that way. And then they'll start pressing a couple space bars because they need to go a little bit less than that. And then it's okay, everything's lined up. You don't have to do that. You can use a tab stop. And actually, it's better to do so because if you end up changing the font and things, then those space bars and tabs will change the size. The tab stop will automatically tell it has to go to this location. So it's a much more powerful tool to use. Okay. So that was a left tab stop, though. If you could press spacebar for me. Or it's not spacebar, sorry. Can you backspace on the tab that you have? Oh, yeah, that last one. All right. Cool. Now let's say that last one, he accidentally put in the wrong tab. So go to the second left tab stop you have on the ruler. All right. Yeah. And to get rid of it, literally drag it down. It goes away. So you have to actually drag them off of the ruler for them to disappear. Okay. But let's say you want to use a different type of tab stop. Well, let's take a look and see what we have available, shall we? So go over to the left. Yeah, you already actually got to see. In the left corner, you'll see there. And so as you click, it changes the tab stop that is available. Right now, he clicked once, and so center tab is okay. Center tab, okay. That's okay. Click again, and you have to do it like 2 more times. Keep going. Again. There we go. All right. So center tab is now available. So if you click on somewhere between 3 and 4, all right. And so now choose. I would put it at like either at day or at. Put the insertion point at day or at, and press tab, and let's see what happens. Oops. Okay. All right. So, yeah, did you have 2 of them appear on there? Huh. Strange. All right. So what the center tab does is it actually will go ahead, Benjamin.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, make 2 tabs.
Okay. Yeah. So so what the center tab will do is will center when you tab, it'll center it around wherever that tab stop is. So that's strange that it actually added 2 tabs though for you when you did that. It must have decided that it needed to do to have 2 tabs in order for it to actually center it. I've never seen that before though. So it's 2 of them on top of there. That's why. Makes more sense now. Okay. All right. But yeah, so that's how a center tab works. So I want to show you one more. So if you get rid of that guy for me, get rid of the center tab. And then backspace. Yeah. All right. Go click on the stops again. We're going to go to a right tab now. So in my mind, the left and right tabs are the most powerful ones. Yeah. Somewhere. I'm going to press yeah, go to where you have like October 19th. Okay. Oh, you got too many going, but that's okay. All right, because it's recognized that to the first one. See. So yeah, backspace that. Yeah. Okay. Go to October 9th. No, just put the point in front of the October 19th. All right. Yeah. Put the insertion point in front of October 19th. So click in front of
Yep.
In front of October 19th. So between at and October. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So press no, that's fine. Put the right tab somewhere between like 5 and 6 to be more obvious for people.
Okay, do we need to select something to insert it?
No, you should be able to put it on there.
Oh,
yeah. All right. Press tab for me. Okay. Oop. No, that's good. All right. So when you did that, that's right. That's right. So when you did that, notice that the end of the rest of this line or the rest of the sentence, because it's all attached to those space bars. Notice at the end of it, it is lined up with that right tab stop. So the left tab stop lines up the beginning of what you have with that tab stop. The right tab stop lines up the ending of it. The center tab stop lines up the what it sees as the center of it. And that's why I inserted those two tab stops earlier on you. Which again, I've never seen it do that before. In order to make it work, I thought that was strange. But hey, it is what it is. It did what it needed to do to make the tab stop correct. So why would this be helpful to you? Well, many times when you see a resume, what do you see? You see someone will say like, had this job from this start date to this end date. And you may have noticed that they always have them on like two separate sides of the paper, right? One will be on the far left and the other on the far right. This is how you can do that. You type your information, you put a right tab stop on wherever you want it to end up on the right end, and then you press tab and it'll move it over there for you. Now you don't have to worry about I had to press tab a couple times, a couple space bars, and then at the bottom of your sheet, bottom of your resume where you say you're proficient at Microsoft Word, and if you have an employer that needs that actual proficiency, they do show hide. They look and see that you just have a bunch of space bars. You don't have any tab stops being used. You don't really know how to use Microsoft Word. And yes, this is an actual thing that I've seen people be turned away from jobs because of this. Because they lie, and then it's not really their fault. They think they know Microsoft Word. They think they know how to use everything with it. Some even say that, oh, I've been doing that since middle school, high school. I know how to do everything in here, but they don't know about tab stops. Um, it's just one example something that's major to a lot of companies and people that want admins. They want them to be able to line things up correctly, and not just try to like, oh, I used a bunch of spaces. Oh, now I have to go in and change the wording here. Oh, I need less space. Oh, the space bar doesn't work now. Now I have to add a tab, then a space bar. Like you don't need to do any of that. You add the tab stop exactly where you need it to go. You press tab once, it goes directly there. So it's just a matter of understanding the different types of tab stops that we have. So the left one, when you press tab, it will left indent the information. It'll align up the leftmost part of the information to the left tab stop. If you have a right tab stop, it'll line up the rightmost end up to that right tab stop. Okay. So this would probably be your most powerful tool that you would use, in my mind, when it comes to building your resume. So, are there any questions with the tab stops? Okay. So, let's see. Could you turn off show hide for me? Okay. And select the first paragraph. Okay. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you some other things you can do to modify your tab stops. So in the paragraph group, since we're already on the home tab, I want you to launch the dialog box that's in the corner of the paragraph group, the bottom right corner. So the corner, it looks like it looks like a arrow pointing diagonally downward. So right underneath that, yep, right there. And so that's how you can launch a dialog box. And so this is the paragraph dialog box because we were in the paragraph group. So no, we looked at this on, I believe it was last Wednesday. We saw that you could change the spacing here. This is also where you can make some changes to your indentions if you wanted to. Notice in the bottom right corner, a button that says tabs. Bottom left corner, tabs. This allows you to actually make tabs. Notice here, it actually lists the positions that you are at. So right now you are at 1.69 tab stop. It tells you there what type of alignment it is. It tells you it's a left alignment. Then it has now that leader is something else that can be very important to people, because what the leader does is it tells you what goes in front of it that is actually visible to the user. So it's set to none. You can set it to a bunch of periods. You can set it to a bunch of dashes. You can set it to a bunch of underscores. You could even so yeah. Now that you pick that, click set. Okay. All right. Click OK. Look what happens now. And remember, show hide is not on. Those are legit there. Okay. So again, why would that be useful? Sometimes people like to add those to their resumes, or they use tabs. They want to show that I'm going to the end over here. And I know people that when they see this done, and someone says, I want you to make this look like this, literally go in and press the period key a bunch of times. And then I need to make a change to, oh, I need more periods, or I need less of them. No, use the tab stop. It automatically puts all of that whole trail there. Okay. All right. So let's go back to that, to the paragraph dialog box again, and we'll go back to the tab dialog box that we had before. So another thing I wanted to note here is that the default tab stops. Notice how earlier I told you that it was default set to half an inch. Look there, it says 0.5. 0.5 is a half, and that quote there stands for inches. So it literally is that half an inch. You could change the default tab stop if you wanted to. That means that when you press tab and there's no tab stop, so automatically go a certain distance. So you can set that as there as well. Okay. All right. So let's see. I believe that's it. As you notice, there was a left, a center, right, and then there was a bar and a decimal one. The bar one inserts a vertical bar. The decimal one is mainly used to line up decimals. So, like if you were doing some kind of math equations, that way they could line up appropriately. They're not really used any more than that. Most people just stick to the left and right, honestly. Center's not even used that much. But also notice the tab stop positions that are there. If he wanted to, Benjamin could type in another number up there. So if he wanted to type in, say, 2.0. Okay. Look what happened. It actually inserted it there. So if you didn't want to mess around with the ruler by clicking on it, you could do it in the tab dialog box. Okay. All right. So that's all I wanted to show you with the indentions and tabs. And you can add, this is kind of weird, but you can add multiple indentions onto a line using the tab stops. So if Visual's got a couple of them on there, but if you go to where you select the tab stops on the left side, in the left corner. Oh no, sorry, on the screen. So on the left corner above the vertical bar or vertical ruler, right above the vertical ruler.
Here?
No. Go all the way over to the left. Directly under the keyboard clipboard group. Yeah, that guy. So if you click again, you might have to go 2 more times. Again. Notice here you can add in. Oh, no, there it was. Click again. There. So notice here you can add in your, another left indent if you wanted to. You have the other option as well for a right and a hanging and a first line. So it's kind of funny how you can add multiple ones in. So I just want to show you all that. So the main thing to take away from this part though is the tab stops and the power that you have with them. You can add it on directly with the ruler and press tab. For tab if you wanted to. You could even for that line. And you all probably can begin to see and think about how you use that resume to line things up more evenly, so things look more aesthetic. You could even condense it so that you don't go past the 6-inch mark for the right indent, although you still have the margin space for it. Up to you. Okay, so that was the first thing I want to show you. So maybe after Azure, we can do the second thing. So before we move on, any questions with tab stops? Something came up. Okay. Vincent, I apologize. It says that you want it. There's a dot on here, your name. So if you unmute yourself and tell me what that may be about, I honestly am not sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure. It just came up on my screen, so I didn't know if it was like you tried to raise your hand or something, or if you asked something, because I don't see anything in the chat or anything. So
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
okay. All right. Well, that's okay.
Sorry.
No, that's not your fault. I've never I've never used iPad with WebEx in this way. So learning some new features, and they also had an update. They've had 2 updates in the last month, so uh, not sure what it could be, but regardless, that's okay. So, okay. No questions then about tab stops. Cool. Okay. Is there anyone that already knew about this? I'm curious. Did anyone already know about tab stops? Okay, no one said anything. All right, cool. Yeah, this is the part where most people are like, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that in Word." So I did learn something with Word. So good. All right. So next thing we're gonna look at is another way that you could possibly use within your resumes. So we saw columns, for instance. So you can set things up into 2 columns. All right. And you also saw how you could change the size of columns, and you could change where they started or ended by using the ruler. We've seen tab stops, how you can insert different types of tab stops. You could change the location of indentions on the right end and on the left end, first line indentions and hanging indentions. And you could be very specific about the tab stop, even giving it leaders. Um, so the only thing left that you could possibly use within a resume would be a table. So we're going to see how to insert a table. So yes, go to the insert tab, table. You can define how many rows and columns. Notice there's also an option for Excel spreadsheet. So if you have a spreadsheet that contains the information, you can do that as well. So let's just insert a table. I think you probably would need 2 columns. And maybe that's it. And then we can see how you would change from there. So good. Yeah. Okay. And then let's just insert tutor. Type in tutor there. Okay. And then press oh, that's fine. So Benjamin's already going to adjusting the concert. Yeah. So tutor, and then let's put 2007 there. Okay.
What happened?
It has to do with the changing of the sizes there. So when you're moving the columns around. Yeah. Don't worry about it, because yeah, right there. Yeah, you see it. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. So let's add in coach. Okay. What happened to you? Yeah, all your hanging indents and stuff changed. That was weird. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Good. And then for the last one, let's put in let's just put in teacher. Okay. All right. So let's see. So he just entered in this table, and as he did so, you'll notice too that he realized he needed to start changing some of the sizes. So he was changing the sizes of his column. So Benjamin, if you could go to the top there to that middle portion on your ruler, the one that's still looks like a grid in the middle. Yeah, there. Yeah, to move that over. And so notice as he moves that over, his column changes where it begins. The second column, where the second column begins, changes. And then the one on the end also maneuvers with that. All right. Um, so yeah, select. I'm gonna say select the whole thing. Yeah. Right. Cool. And now he can maneuver around wherever he would like, but he may want to also increase the size of those so that so for instance, the words tutor doesn't go down vertically. You can have it or as one row. Um,
How do I do that?
all right, so we're gonna take that one and move it over. Yep. Is it not allowing you to?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Click on the on the table and then move it downward. Move the table downward. I think it's on the same line as Azerbaijan, and it may be in the way. There we go. Cool. All right, and let's now stretch it out a bunch. Yeah. Give ourselves some more room. Okay, and now can you select your text for me? Huh. It's like all your tabs went away. Which is strange. Go to your go to layout for me. Layout tab. See, your indention's at 0, so that shouldn't be an issue. You click on a line for me, but make sure it's not set up that way. In the arrange group, click on the line. All right, so arrange group. So it's the third grouping.
Oh.
Yeah, and then align.
Something's blocking the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the share screen thing is blocking you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's aligned to the margin, so it shouldn't be an issue. Okay. Go to the home tab. Cause it looks like all your yeah, it looks like all your which calls went away. Yeah, those are only set on that first line. So can you click inside put the insertion point inside tutor? Okay. Yeah, so I don't know why, but all your indents disappeared. So click on the tab stop to change it to a right indent. Yeah, you're in your left corner. Yeah, click on that. Keep clicking. Keep going. No, sorry, not a right tab stop, but indent. So keep going. Yeah. Again. Again. So that one should be that's the first line. That should be the hanging. Oh, you don't even get an option. All right, let's go back to that and let's try to let's try doing a first line one then. So at least we can get something on the board. Yeah. So go over to your ruler and click on somewhere. Yeah. There you go. You're on there now. Okay, cool. So that allow you to manipulate that change there. Now we need to you have to do the same thing for your 2007, which I think is strange that it just completely disappeared on that one too. Let's see. All right. So when you click on it, your indent's not even appearing anymore. Huh. All right. Try changing the row height. So yeah, yep. Oh, it was just there and then it went away. Okay, just because you're changing the style. Um, that shouldn't even be necessary. Oh yeah, it was just a row height. All right, cool. All right. Anyway, so what I wanted to show you guys with the table is that actually, which I guess is kind of cool that this happened this way, is that modifying a table for it to fit a certain format within like wanting to do a resume with it can be very difficult. Kind of as what we saw here. So you have a couple of things that you're dealing with. You're dealing with the size of the column, and you're dealing with the size of the row, which you can change directly from the table or from the rulers. The other thing is that you now still have the components of using the different tab stops and the different indentions within it. And then the last thing that most people don't even realize is that you don't have to show the table border, which can be which can be helpful to you, can also hurt you in some ways. So the table is already selected, I believe. So if you would click on table design, the table design tab, sorry, table design tab. Okay, cool. And then when we have borders, if you click on in the borders group, yeah, click on borders. Sorry, click on borders. All right, so you can click on no border. Yeah. All right, so that way the border will be gone. Now, a lot of times when people do this, they'll create their resume, and I thought you had the whole table selected earlier. So, right, but they'll create their resume in the table, then they'll get rid of the borders, and then they'll go in and make modifications. And what they don't realize is that that border is technically still there, and so some of the things they try to enter and create or type in there, mistakes will occur, or it won't allow them to do so because of the borders, or they'll be in the wrong cell and they don't realize they're in the wrong cell. So I always tell people to turn the borders back on. So, like for instance, if you select the whole table, so where you have the cross with the arrows going every direction. Okay. Now change the borders to all borders. It makes it easier for you to manipulate the table there because you can see where everything is. Okay. And then once you are done with it, you can go back to no borders. Like after you make your modifications. Okay. So some other things is that let's say you want to insert more rows or columns. So, oh, no, you're right. If you were to right click on the table, select table, yeah, you can do it from there too. So if you click the table, you get a mini toolbar. If you right click, you'll see it in your menu that comes up from when you right click. You'll have an option to insert or delete. So this allows you to insert or delete rows and columns. So, for instance, click on insert below. Okay, and so we have a new thing there. So if you could select that entire row, just that last row, yeah. Okay, good. If you could right click on that for me. Okay, now you get an option here at the bottom, or towards the middle actually, where it says merge cells. Because let's say you want it, so like you're trying to build your resume, you have teacher in 2009. Now you want to put a description there. Well, if you merge cells, so click on merge. Now that's one cell that you can type the whole thing in. Okay, and so that's where you could, okay, yeah. So again, note that it's easier to modify things when you are we have the border showing as demonstrator. So yeah, so now you could type in some description of that if you want to, and then that way you'd have a paragraph. All right, cool. All right, so yeah, so if you were to use a table to build a resume, which I have seen students do, this is how you could do so. And it will be very important for you to understand how to make these manipulations. Again, having the border there makes it easier while you're directly modifying it. And then when you're done, take the border off. So that's what I want to show you all with that. I was going to show you this. Oh, okay, great. Yeah. So if you could, for me, Benjamin, one last thing before we start answering questions in general for the assignment. If you could go to File, so in the backstage view. So notice here at the top here, I think we mentioned this before, how we have different templates for things. There's actually one already up there. You see it says blue-gray resume. there are tons and tons of templates for resumes. So this one has you put in like some information about your profile, contact, and stuff like that. But see, I wanted you. Well, I guess we can look at this one. But before you do that, don't create this one yet. Click X and click where it says more templates. Okay, in the search online templates. Oh, actually, there's already a common one. Click on where it says resume and cover letters. So here are a ton of different resumes are in cover letters already created there for you. So these templates could be used. You can get real specific too. Like some of these will even say stuff like, this is my resume for grad school, or this is my resume to be an attorney, or this is a great resume for a management job, like things like that. So if you wanted to look for a template, you could do so. Now, do note that if you were to use a template to do it, you will want to understand how they have things set up. So Benjamin, if you want to go up to the top and select the blue gray one, or select a different one, it doesn't matter to me. You can select anything that you want. And then let's create it. All right. So the first thing that I would ever do if I use a template, and this is what I do. I go to the paragraph group on the home tab and I click show hide. So that way I can get a good look at what's going on. Now, notice you see something that looks like a circle with some lines around it. That indicates generally a table is actually being used, which you can also tell because where you have the insertion point, look what happened to the tabs at the top. At the very, very top, we have two new tabs, those contextual tabs, table design and layout. Those those tabs enter because you have a table there and because you have a table selected. Yeah. And so that's what was done here. They had tables. Now look, he put all borders on the table. Look where that table is. How is that table being used in this instance? It's being used to divide sections of the resume, right? So they're using a table as a template, but they're also using parts of the table to give borders and like blank white space in between parts. So this is why I use the show hide though, so I can see where different things are in a template, and I can kind of tell what it is they're trying to do, or what it is they're doing. So, all right. So I want to show you all that too. So if you want to use any of the templates, they are available to you, and you can make changes there. So most of the time when students use a template, I usually get tons of emails asking, hey, I tried to change the color of this thing, or it automatically had a name in here and it wouldn't let me change it. And they ask a couple of other different things to try to make some changes. And there's usually some difficulty. So I tend to tell students, templates are great. They're great places to start. But the best thing is if you find a template, find one that looks very simple. Like this has a photo on it. Most time if you give a photo, people are gonna think either this person thinks really like highly of themselves, they think they look hot, like hot stuff. So you're trying to get hired based off your appearance, and it can turn people off completely because of that, because they don't want to. If they did hire you and someone else knew that you were hired over them, they could say they had a picture on their resume, so you chose them because of the way they look. And so there are times where that becomes appropriate. For instance, there have been like actors and actresses that use that. In Europe, I think that's still the standard in resumes, is that you include a photo on there. And their whole purpose is because they want to see who's this person that we're hiring. What do they look like? Do they present themselves professionally in this image that's for a professional reason? And it makes sense. It's a sound decision, but because of how things are, I don't want to say things are in our country, but because of really how the world is now with the whole political correctness thing, the whole world, it becomes kind of a dangerous thing to do, right? Because I mean, just think about it. If you saw a picture of applicants, you may decide to not hire someone based off some biases that you see within their photo. It's very possible for that to happen. There are a lot of agencies that will even say stuff like, we want to have a certain diversity, so we would like to have a certain percentage of things. You can legally not hire someone to fit in within a percentage of diversity. You can't hire someone based off the color of their skin. That's discrimination. So there are issues that will come up with having your photo on a resume. I'm telling you this because I know that some people teach otherwise in the community, that you should always have your photo on your resume. That is a dangerous game, is what I'm saying. There are times and places where it is called for, depending on the type of job. Like if you are going to model or go into acting or something, that may be great because they're gonna ask for a headshot anyway. Why not plop it on your resume to begin with? But other than that, it's not something that's commonly used in Europe. Like I said, they use it a lot. I don't know why, but they do. They like to see your photo on there. Well, I do know why. They say it's for professional reasons, but yeah. All right. So, believe that was really everything. I want to show you guys indents. Showed that. Tab stops. We showed that. Inserting a table, using a table to modify, and then templates. So that should be everything that you need to do. And then on Wednesday, what I want to do is to talk about things to include on your resume. So I'll start that by, if you all have, thank you, Benjamin. Thank you so much for sharing your screen with us today and following my directions. Sorry that I got cut out sometimes. You heard different words, or like design, table design. They both have design in it. You probably couldn't hear the table part because I saw my mic went out for a second on that. So sorry about that. But yeah, we made it through, so I appreciate it. You can stop sharing your screen if you would like. Yeah, so for your resume assignments, let's see if I'm gonna see if this is gonna work because I know the app looks different on screens. So let's see if this works. 3, 2, 1, go. So let's see if this works. Just see student view this way. Let's see if this works or not. I think it's gonna give me an issue. I think it still looks pretty good. I thought it was gonna hold me back. All right, so everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Sweet. All right, cool. So here is the description of the assignment. South Mountain Community College has a wonderful group of workshops to aid you in making your resume work and interview ready, making your resume work and making you interview ready. For this assignment, I would like for you to make a resume that includes your name and contact information, and objective or summary. So we'll talk about some more detail what these things mean on Wednesday. Your most recent education, which is South Mountain, because you're here, right? If you are actually at another university, mainly, you can include that on there, and you're taking a class at South. That's fine. At least one work experience. If you have never had a job, and that has happened before, in this course, you will put that maybe you can think of some volunteer experience or some position or officership that you've had in some club or something, or we will make up something. Okay. Within that, you want to think about name of your company or organization. So if you make up something, have something fun, but that's still sounds kind of cool. It's not like it's not inappropriate. Time of employment, final position title, description of the job, and then we're going to use appropriate text formatting. So there are going to be uses of tables, columns, tabs, indentions. I do not want to see, for instance, like an example here, we're going from University of Minnesota, then it says city, state. There is not a bunch of spaces hit and tabs hit in order to get city, state over there. There's a tab stop used, a right tab stop. And as you notice, they're all right tab stops here, actually. Now, could you make this, like this example, could you make it not using tab stops and indentions? Sure. You could just use tables. And then have the start of the column go wherever it needs to for city and state, And because you can, as you can see, it's pretty simple. You probably have to use some kind of combination tables with the tab stops, honestly, because these start at different parts. But you could do that. I've had people turn a resume, and each section is a different table. So it's up to you, but you're going to use some type of text formatting to set it up appropriately so that you can have it have a look and feel of a resume, and so that it will show a proficient use of Microsoft Word instead of, again, a bunch of tabs, or not a bunch of tabs, bunch of tabs and spaces being thrown in here, and different fonts throughout, different sizes. Like a lot of stuff is copy and pasted, but you never changed the format back to what you currently were at, things like that. So we'll look at that on Wednesday. So my suggestion, I think I suggested this last week and maybe a couple of weeks ago too, actually. So definitely remember mentioning this. But go ahead, and if you have an old resume, find it. We'll see how we can change it. Most people, when they go through their old resume, they have a ton of spaces that they use in order to push things over. Understandable, because that may have been the only way that you knew how to do it. But now we're going to make some modifications with the tab stop. So for some of you, this will be a really quick assignment, because all we'll be taking your current resume and then modifying it formatting wise so that it sticks out a lot better. And when I click show hide, because that's how I'm going to grade it, I'm going to look and see if I see a bunch of tabs or in spaces to move over University of Minnesota, I'm going to report back to you. You could have done that in one tab stop. Change it. So yeah. And even with the leader lines, if you want to use those, you can too, to put spaces or put periods in between stuff or dashes. So yeah. All right. So that's what we're going to do for this week. Looks like my time is up. Next. So yeah. Are there any questions from anyone? Oops, got a new question here. Yes. Oh, nope. Cool.
Would we need to have like a LinkedIn or anything like that attached to it?
No, but if you have one, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Do you know what a list style is?
A list style?
Yeah.
Yeah. So remember last week we looked at lists. So like numbered lists and unordered lists.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
All right.
Other questions? And so that list style is there, as you saw, like in the examples, some of the things will have bullet points possibly underneath. You don't have to use bullet points at all, or even have a list underneath. Some people do descriptions as a paragraph. Other people do it as bullet lists. I do both. It depends on the job I'm applying for, or if I'm applying to grad school or applying to do something, I will change it depending on what it is I'm going for. So bullet like lists are usually good for if you're trying to get straight to the point, like I've done this. So people are like, oh, he's done all those things. If you are, it's just more like a general thing, then having a paragraph about what you did there, describing the job and what you accomplished with it, that's better. So it just depends on the job that you're applying for. And to be honest with you, it's nice to have both types so that you can switch things up quickly depending on what you're applying for. So yeah. Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. Okay. In that case, I will see you on Wednesday. Thank you all so much for the last couple of weeks for helping me out with not being able to share my screen. I really do enjoy it. Yeah, I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
See y'all Wednesday.
Good day.
You too.
I have a question, Professor. Do you want us to pick a template or do you want us to create it by scratch?
Either one is fine. I think from scratch is easier.
Okay. Yeah, that's all. Thank you, Professor.
All right. No problem. You're welcome.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.